From Wall Street to Main Street to help small business owners have the same capital as corporate America and give them the same resources as a larger company. We cover business funding, business credit, scaling, business consulting, and much more. Check out the website at shieldadvisorygroup.com. Welcome to the show, The Liquid Lunch Project.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Liquid Lunch Project. I am Matthew R. Meehan, alongside my partner, the Professor Luigi Rosabianca. What's going on, Lou?
Matt, how are you, partner? Are you ready to get ready for the SAT? Today's word is Neuro-Linguistics. Can you spell that, Matthew?
Nah, no, not a shot.
So, folks, you know what our mantra is. Every week, we try to bring you a new podcast where we can expand the minds and the horizons of the small business owner in America. And today we have Wiley, the Mind Ninja McArthur, who is a neuro-linguisticist. I believe that's a word. Wiley, welcome to the podcast and give us some pearls of wisdom, my friend.
Hey, thank you. So probably the most famous practitioner of NLP is Tony Robbins. So that's kind of where it all started for me. I wanted to be a motivational speaker when I was in high school, unlike most people, and started following Tony and Jim Rohn and those kind of speakers and just finding out what they were doing and how they were getting the results. And it comes to find out that there's actually a process on how to actually learn this and ask the right questions to get results, how to utilize the power of our unconscious minds to get from point A to point B at quantum speeds, so much faster than we normally would do by struggling through it on our own.
Now, you say you can apply that to all professions, all applications, and all facets of life.
Absolutely. It's just asking the right question to get the result. If you have a model of excellence, anything is possible. I like to think of myself as the Tim Grover to your Michael Jordan, because you can ask the right questions, get the right things so that the micro movements, the slight changes can increase performance and power and production exponentially without having to know and be that high level of a person. Because once you start recognizing that there are little things that are outside of your awareness, you can then start moving at faster speeds.
Well, I love this example you give of Michael Jordan, because Michael Jordan was, yes, he was physically gifted. I mean, he was 6'4" and he's a physical specimen, but he was also a maniac when it came to attention to detail. So which was it, nature or nurture?
Yes. You have to have the nature to be able to perform right at his level, but you also have to have the nurture, have someone outside, because the only person who holds you back is you every time. There is no one who can stop you from being the most powerful, excellent, powerful person except for you. You get to decide. You set your own limitations, and a lot of our limitations are built on things that are outside of our awareness. Growing up, parents said this, influencers said this, and we choose to believe them until we start questioning it. For example, one of the biggest ones that I learned was you have to work hard for money. And that sabotaged me for the longest period of time, because when I'm in my flow state, when I'm doing what I do, I absolutely love it. It's not work to me. So if I believe that it has to be hard for me to be worth the money, I had to self-sabotage to make it hard. So I had to actually change that belief to the more value I provide, the more value comes back to me.
So this would be a good time to explain to you that Matthew offers $20,000 to all participants at the Liquid Lunch Project, right?
What?
No, I like what you're saying, man. We preach this to our clients all day long. It's to work smart, not work hard. Now, don't get me wrong. You're not going to wake up at 12 noon and party all night and be successful, but working smart is the key.
It's just understanding your brilliance and stop the self-sabotage. See, a lot of times we want to do things a certain way, not realizing that it's not the most effective way. I mean, there's a plethora of people who do things, but there's one way that's more effective, and there's always tweaks and things that go to it. And if we start activating the unconscious, utilizing that power, see, consciously we can only process about 26 to 30 bits per second, whereas unconsciously we can process at 1 million bits per second. Now, if we tapped into that power where it's gathering all of the information and we direct it to a specific point, we get outside just things that pop up. You're like, wait a minute, where did that come from? One of my favorite examples of this is when we buy our first car, right? There's lots of research done, all of that. The minute you drive it off the lot, how many of that car show up out of nowhere? It's like, well, I activated my reticular activating system that allowed me to then look for specific things. Now, most people, we've been programmed to look for what's going wrong in our lives. The rocks in the road, the things that, the hiccups, the bad things, the negative story, right? It can't be that easy. It can't be whatever. Then they self-actualize everything that they don't want. People say, well, don't think of a blue tree. I don't want this. I don't want this. Well, don't think of a blue tree. No. Don't think of a blue tree. Wait a minute. I said, don't think of a blue tree. We have to try it on to then reject it. Same with problems. If I don't want bills, if I focus on the bills, I'm going to keep getting them, whether I want them or not. But if I start focusing on the checks that are coming, the opportunities that start showing up, all my energy is focused to that. Guess what starts showing up? Opportunities, abilities to pay those bills, all those things that I want. You ask someone what they want, they're fuzzy. You ask them what they don't want, they'll give you a laundry list of all the things they don't want.
Now, is that innate? Is that human nature to be pessimists at heart? Or is that something that is inculcated in us with culture? I like what you're saying. You're saying we pay more attention to the potholes on the road rather than the beautiful view along the drive.
Let me ask you a question. How many kids don't care what is going negative when they're young? They don't think, they're not afraid to talk to people. They're not afraid to jump off the counters. They're not afraid of anything until we tell them, no, stranger danger, this, that, negative. It's trained into us. It's not natural. All of it is learned behavior. Because if you went back to your most powerful self, your most authentic self, that's when you're like 6, 7, where you don't care what anything. You're wearing Batman underwear on the outside. You're wearing a cape running down the street, just enjoying life. You do that today and someone says something negative and you just freeze up and stop. Yet the most powerful influencers, the people who are really successful, have gotten back to that inner child, being their most authentic true self and shining that light to people around them. And people go, I wish I could be like that. I wish I could do it just like that. Instead of, what's stopping me? What's stopping me from being who I truly want to be? Me. That's it.
So,
Now-
Wiley, let's touch on something here. So what are some questions that people can ask themselves to get them away and get those boundaries, free themselves from those boundaries that they put upon themselves and get themselves clear?
One of my first ones is I've got a 4-step process how to get out of any negative state. So say you're really upset at something just awful happened, right? And you get in this negative state, and most people, it turns into a bad hour, bad afternoon, bad day, right? The rock keeps tumbling. What if the moment it started, you decided to look up? Now, here's the cool thing. At the neurological level, if you look up, you disconnect from any negative state. You cannot feel sad. You cannot feel negative when you're looking up at the sky. It's a neurological impossibility. We've been programmed that way.
Everybody's trying it right now. You know that. And I've been through this before, and it is true. 100%
Right.
true.
I don't know anyone who's walking shoulders back, head up that's depressed. Do you? That's the thing, is when someone's got their shoulders back, their head up, that's that aura of confidence, right? It's the power, right? And here's the crazy thing. We have cell phones, right? When you use your cell phone, are you looking up when you use your cell phone? Or are you hunched in and looking down? We've been trained to get into that negative, depressed state. The Charlie Brown state is what I like to call it. Because we all know that when he gets good and depressed, he gets good and depressed. He has to get his shoulders down. He has to get that hunched over, closed off. So if you look up, break back, shoulders back, head up, it's a neurological disconnect. It's a stop on the negative emotion. Second, as you're looking up, ask yourself one question. The question is, what do I need to learn? The learning of which will allow me to let it go. Because the only reason why we have a negative emotion, it's there to protect us, to keep us safe from whatever is going on in that moment. It's like the check engine light comes on. Now, as humans, especially in American society, and men especially, we've been trained to take the duct tape and put it over that check engine light and say, everything's all good. I'm fine. Everything's great. Right? Bury it deep. No one will find it. The problem is if it doesn't get resolved, it's going to come back again when there's a situation that's similar. Not the same, similar. Because no situation is the same. And if we haven't solved it the first time, it's going to be, oh, this is similar. I'm going to bring you back everything you've built up. And then we go really deep into that sabotage. Instead of, what do I need to learn? The learning which will allow me to let it go. Get the learnings. When we learn to ride a bike, there's lots of negative, right? There's crashes and falling and all kinds of awful. The minute you know how to ride a bike, all the negative goes away. It's just a story. Don't we tell ourselves, we'll laugh about this later? The reason why is we've learned how to protect ourselves. Now we can go back to that story and laugh at it. Problem with trauma and traumatic events and all the negative things that we hold on to is we don't go back to those events with who we are now. We go back to who we were when that event happened. Because if you went back with who you are now, the resources that you had now, you'd laugh at it because you are a much more powerful person. This is portrayed in the movie Hook with Robin Williams, and he's fighting Captain Hook, and he's like, you used to seem a lot bigger. Well, to a 10-year-old, I'm huge. Same with all of our past shit. It's who we were then, not with who we are now. And if you could go back with all your resourcefulness, you'd crush all of it. And that's why I have this fun little program that we get rid of all past anger, sadness, fear, hurt, and guilt without any content. Meaning I don't have to hear your stuff. You don't have to relive it. We just get the learnings, and it just makes all the past stuff a story.
Now, Wiley, have you learned that intervening in your ninja-like fashion, is it best to do this one-on-one, or can you work within groups, whether it's corporate, families, etc.?
If we're doing deep dives into past emotional stuff, it's a one-on-one. But there are a lot of things like just recognizing like this, looking up, that can be done in a group. Asking questions for the group, solving stuff, because most people have a similar story. So if there's a problem in a business, we can ask that in a group, and someone brings up the thing. It's like when you're in front of one and someone raises their hand and says, I have this question. I had that question too. I had that question too. And everyone goes, yeah, that's great. And you get the learnings. So there's a lot of things that we can do in groups. I'm actually starting a group here this next month where we're going to deep dive on every week on a different topic. I've got a book in the process that'll be launching February 3rd. I'm putting it out there. Okay. February 3rd at the Apex Live, and it's 52 mind hacks with the Mind Ninja, and it's each week there's a different mind hack to get you to a result. And the first one, and this is a spoiler alert, the first chapter in the book is, what do you want? Because that's the biggest hiccup in people today. People will spend more time planning their vacation than they will planning their life. And they wonder why they're not getting everything that they want. It's because they haven't put any focus, no energy to it. What would you do if you could choose where you wanted to go in life? I challenged all my clients. This is one of the hacks that I have, is to write your obituary as if you're writing your legacy, what you want to be remembered for, what you want people to say. Because when you write that obituary with what you want people to say, all of a sudden, you then give your unconscious mind directions on opportunities to bring that legacy about. You can reverse engineer it. You can go, okay, if I want to be known for giving $1 billion to charity, man, I got to make a bit of money to be able to do that. If I want to have the legacy of he was an amazing father, then I'd better step up and be there for my kids. If I want the legacy of being the one who colonized Mars, I've got to put forth plans, and I've got to create Tesla, and I've got to create SpaceX, and I've got to do this, right? Start with the end in mind. That's what all goal setting is, right? We go with where we're going and then reverse engineer it. Most people don't know where they want to go with their life. They're just living day to day to get to the end. Hope one day retire and hopefully have some fun with it. But that's it. There's no grandiose beliefs. Yet those who are massively successful, you ask them what their 5-10-year plan is, and they've got a blueprint. They said, this is where I'm going. These are my daily actions. These are my monthly goals. These are my yearly goals. This is how I'm getting there. And they're getting there. Why? Because they've put forth to the universe, this is where I'm going, come hell or high water. There's no option B. And all of a sudden, the unconscious goes, okay, well, since there's no option B, so I'm going to put all of my energy here. Let's rock it.
Wiley, this is amazing. And obviously, you're giving us so many wonderful insights. But I'm imagining that for one to become Wiley the Mind Ninja, you probably went out to some like 4-year retreat in the hills of Tokyo to train and become a ninja? How does one become a neuro-linguistist?
I actually got trained in southern Utah. I actually happened to run into someone who did the training, and it's not all NLP trainers are the same. Just like anybody else, there are very specialized. Everyone has their talent, right? That's why I've actually done enough training to be able to train other people, but that's not where I'm going to go. I would send everyone to my trainer. And if you want to know who that is, you can reach out to me and I'll get you his number. And I get nothing from it other than the fact that I know that if you really want to learn NLP, he's the guy to go to. His name's Alan Jensen with Zoe Academy. And he installs it at the unconscious level, so you're unconsciously competent from day one. It's kind of cool. But it's just, most of it, though, because, like I said, everyone can get training, but it's applying it, right, and believing in it. Because I've met people who have been trained and just don't do anything with it. And then I've met those like me who just go, oh, man, this is so cool. What else can I learn? What else can I learn? What else can I learn? And it's a never-ending process because I live by the Sergeant Schultz method of understanding things. Is I know nothing from Hogan's Heroes. And when I go in with that, everything is available to me. Because the minute I understand something, it's like, okay, so what else is there? There's never an end to any concept. There's always something more to learn. The minute I say I know this, I cut myself off from all future learning, all new abilities. And it's like, why would I ever do that? I understand a lot of concepts and I'm mastering a lot of things, but I will never know any.
Hey, Wiley, this is something that all small business owners go for, right? Every day, a small business owner is making hundreds, if not thousands, of micro decisions, right? Mm-hmm. Every fork in the road, you have a choice to go left or right, right? So revisionary history always tells us, well, what could have been? But we never really look at all the opportunities that haven't gone right offered us. So how do you deal with that optimism in having that strength of will? Whatever decision I make, I'm going to make the best of it. And whatever could have been, hey, who cares? It's just looking forward.
I follow, so I'm going to date myself a little bit, but one of my favorite movies is a Disney movie called Pollyanna. And in that, she's this little girl who is the town optimist, right? She's always cheerful, looking for the good. And she's going out delivering lunch to the pastor or the preacher. And the preacher's out there preparing his hell and damnation talk, right? All of the things that you're going to go to hell for, and you're doing this wrong, and you're doing all of this. And she said, well, my dad was a preacher too. And did you know that there's, and I don't even remember the number, but there's a large number of the glad tidings, the things to be happy for. And he's like, I didn't know that. And so he stayed up. Well, and she had a little pendant. And on the pendant, it said, if you look for the bad, you'll find it. If you look for the good, you'll find it. The question is, what are you looking for? And there's always going to be negative in the world. There's always going to be positive in the world. Where are we spending our focus? If you follow the news outlets, you're going to find all the negative. If you follow family of choice, like I'm in an organization called Apex, where it's flooded with positivity and inspiration and power. And if I have a bad moment, there's 10 to 20 people that will pop in and say, I got you. Here, how can I help? Get on a call with me. I've got you. Right? It's being around and surrounding yourself with people who are amazing. The second thing is realizing that negative voice that's hitting you, that imposter syndrome, you dictate how it sounds. You get to control it. This is one thing I love to teach people is when you start listening to that negative voice, right? Everyone knows what their negative voice sounds like. What if all of a sudden when it's berating you and telling you you're this and you've done this wrong and you've done this wrong, all of a sudden it sounded like Mickey Mouse? Can you take it seriously now? Aha, you suck! Right? It's like, no, I can't.
That's pretty good, Wiley.
Right? Well, I practice it a little bit. But it's just, when you think about it, when you realize that you then, once you change it once, you go, wait a minute, I have choice. I get to hear what this, I get to change what this sounds like. Some people I have, think of a politician that you know the minute they start talking, they're lying.
You mean all of them?
Huh?
You mean all of them?
All of them. Yeah, but everyone has one in particular that is just like, there is no way they're telling the truth. And you can switch it to their voice. And that's the cool thing is you have the power to change it to whatever you want, take away its power, because it has never once helped you. I don't know a single time when the negative voice has done anything to benefit my life. And the minute I realized that I was at its whim and I decided to change how it sounded, everything flipped, because then I can go, you're a liar.
Wiley, let's reel it back just 1 second, because you touched on a notion I think that may affect some of our listeners now and again. What is imposter syndrome, and how can a optimist small business owner avoid it?
I wouldn't avoid it. I'd just face it head on, because imposter syndrome is you building up in your mind something that's not real. First, we got to break it down to what is an imposter. If you're feeling imposter syndrome, you're not an imposter, because someone who is truly an imposter will never feel imposter syndrome. They're going to bust through that and say, I'm doing this because I'm going to make this and this and this. A true imposter will never feel imposter syndrome. If you feel imposter syndrome, that means you're doing things right because you care. You want to make sure you're giving maximum value. Now, once we get to that framework where you already know that you are not an imposter because you truly care, let's ask the question, what is an expert? When you're in a conversation and you are discussing something, if you know 1% more than the person you're talking to, you're the expert. You don't have to be Michael Jordan talking to the high schooler. And let's be honest, if you're the high schooler, you're not going to be teaching Michael Jordan. He's not your ideal client. If you're doing something where you're giving a value, your ideal client needs to be someone who needs what you have, right? Not everyone is your ideal client. Not everyone is the person that is meant to do business with you. And if you're feeling imposter syndrome, is it because they know more about the subject than you do? If that's the case, okay. But if it's not the case, which 99.9999% it's not, you know more than they do. You're the expert. And it's okay to feel like you're not giving as much value as you possibly can. But to them, one of the things here's one of my favorite quotes. Never shop with your customer's wallet, or with your wallet. Never shop with your own wallet. Never put your limiting beliefs. You're like, well, I could do this much more. They don't know that. And if you're providing value and they're saying, man, you're the most amazing person there is, how do you know all this stuff? Say thank you. One of the most difficult things it is for people that are successful, that feel that imposter syndrome, is to accept praise, is to accept help, is to accept that. Did you know that it's circular? Energy is circular. If you want to be a giver, and all of us love to give, right? There has to be someone willing to receive. And if you stop receiving, guess what? You're sending out the energy of the universe that you don't want to be received.
Wiley, you are so wonderful.
We have fun. And so, yeah, and here's the best part. So my core values. In Apex, we talk about core values a lot. I have 4 core values. I've broken it down to 4. 1, we have to have fun. We learn the best when we're having fun, when we're enjoying ourselves, when we are in the moment enjoying it. 2, we have to get the result, right? We have to be able to get a result that's tangible. If we're working towards something, there's always a result. If you don't measure, you're never going to get anywhere. 3rd, everybody has to win. If one side loses, I walk away, because there is absolutely no value in me taking from someone or someone taking from me. It has to be a win-win every time. And the last one is excellence at all times. And when you add those together, being free, results, everybody wins, and excellence at all times, it's FREE. I become free. I'm able to free to be who I am, truly authentic, and live a life of absolute joy, abundance, and success. Because success is living who you truly are. It doesn't matter what anybody else says about you. That's their perception. The minute I recognize that, I love telling people, there's no way you can offend me. Why? Because I don't care about you that much. I love you, but I don't care enough for you to affect how I feel, because that's me. I'm the only one who gets to decide how I feel. And if I feel like you're bringing some negative to me, I'm going to tune it out for a second and just have a lot of fun with this.
Wiley, you taught us earlier that every successful businessman should plan and then reverse engineer their goals to get there. what are your next goals? I mean, I know you've got this big launch on February 3rd, but what's the next year have in store for the Mind Ninja?
The Mind Ninja is building a group program along with this book. I've also been tasked by one of my dear friends, Robert Nelson, to create a mindset program to help homeless people get out of their own way, to help them get out of that. I also work with another charity that 10% of all my coaching fees goes to support adaptive ops, which rescues people from sex trafficking. So I'm big on the charity work, and my whole thing is this next year, I want to get the word out there that life can be easy, that you can truly tap into your most excellent self. What if you could increase your flow state by 20%? The time that you are in your most authentic, powerful self, how much more powerful would you be? But the question, and that's where I'm going, is my goal is to have 1,000 people in my coaching group by the end of the year.
Wiley, can you tell everybody where they could find you? Because I'm sure you're going to get a lot of people and a lot of DMs after this, because my mind is blown.
I'm on Facebook. I'm about to get on TikTok because I got someone that works with me who said, you have to get on TikTok. And I'm like, okay. Kicking and screaming. I am not a social media person, but I have a Facebook group. If you can find me at Wiley McArthur, send me a DM. I'll invite you to the group. We're doing a lot of content in there. But yeah, on Instagram, I think I just changed it to the Mind Ninja Co. It was Sinawava Coaching. We switched it over to Mind Ninja because I've gone all in on the Mind Ninja, though Sinawava still has a place in my heart because it's Paiute for Coyote God, which works really well with Wiley. But when you start adding people to it, it's no longer about you. And it's scaling and all that. So I'm figuring all this stuff up. New business. Let me give you guys an example of how when you put forth what you want, your life can change. 6 months ago, I was working at a group home of guys with disabilities earning $11 an hour 6 months ago. I've had the training for 6 years. I'd never gone all in on myself. I went to a live event with Sean Whalen and Ryan Stewman, and they challenged me to go all in on my life. I said, you know what? I'm doing this. I quit my job, went all in on coaching. Without a client, I quit my job, burned all the boats, got one client in the first week that made me more money than I would have earned in 2.5 months working that job, and joined a group called Apex. Got around some amazing people, leveled up my thinking to where I went and I joined, not only, they have 3 levels, so they have entourage, entrepreneur, and executive. I went to entrepreneur at the start, met some amazing people, went down and said, you know what, I got to be around these guys like Matthew and Luigi and this executives group. This is where the cool kids hang, right? Because I'm all about who has the models of excellence and how to be around them. So I leveled up so much that I was able to join that top level room in the first 6 months of business, because I went about helping people and I had a definite goal to be able to help enough people to be able to be in that room and to start showing up. I mean, heck, next month, I'm going to be speaking on a stage in Tampa, this 18th and 19th, with Miss Stacy Rasky at the Influential Experience. And I'm going to be doing an experiential one where we can actually tap into our inner power. What if you could have the confidence of someone you look up to? Personally, the person who has the most confidence for me is Superman. When he's standing there, his cape flowing, his hands are on his hips, it's like, holy goodness. Well, how do I know he has confidence if I don't have it inside of me to recognize it? So what if I could take all of his confidence and put it into my own aura, my own belief structure? Ryan Stewman has a process that you can see the most elite version of yourself. Now, seeing myself sometimes is difficult, but seeing it in others and then transferring that to me, that's easy. Here's the cool thing is if you see a trait inside of someone, you have to have it inside of you, because if you didn't, you wouldn't recognize it. Because we've all walked to that person, it's like, they got something about them. I don't know what it is, but there's something. But if you can identify it, it's in you, even the smallest seed. And what if you could amplify that and activate it because it is who part of your authentic self? And I like to call that the superhero mindset.
Love that. Can't wait to learn more about that one.
Oh, you saw it.
Oh, I did.
You did. You
Right.
stepped into it, remember?
Yes.
You were there.
Yes. I stepped into my Superman self.
Yes.
Right.
And it's just fun little things that we can do, little mind hacks that allow us to tap into who we truly are meant to be. But yeah.
So, Wiley, we really appreciate you being here, man. And we want to be very conscious of your time. We know you're super busy. I do have one question before I let you run, right?
Okay.
And we ask every guest on the show, what does success mean to Wiley, the Mind Ninja McArthur?
Success to me is living my most authentic life, sharing my value, being who I am at all times, forgetting what anyone else thinks of me. I'm that crazy guy who walks in with the eye of Agamotto, who just has a whole lot of fun, has an easy button that I hit. I am the king of woo-woo. And in a room full of business professionals who go, what in the hell is that? But I've started to get people to go, wait a minute, there's something about this. And when you start shining your light and have people say, thank you, I'll tell you what success is to me. I was tagged in a podcast someone else said, where someone said, this guy helped me out of a dark place. I changed someone's life. It doesn't get any better than that. Richard Bandler has my favorite quote of all time. And it's never too late to have a happy childhood. I live that because so many people have these rough childhoods. They start talking about how they had it rough and all of this. And it's like, well, what if you got all the lessons from it and think of who you became? Because if you look at the stories of some of the most amazing people out there, every one of them has a turning point, some sort of negative event that inspired them for greatness, that catapulted them to amazingness. Tony Robbins talks about how his mom poured dish soap down his throat and did all that out of love. But we see, the thing about it is when we tie all the negative to one person, we need to also tie all the benefits that we got from that person as well. All of the power, the resilience, the endurance. It's not about the situation, it's what you do with it. If you focus on winning, you will win. Because winners win. That's all they do. If you could get rid of two words, get rid of try and hope. Because both of those are so damaging. Hope gives you two different paths. Focus your energy, burn the boats. Come hell or high water, I'm going to succeed.
I love that, Wiley. And man, we really appreciate you. I appreciate you, and thank you.
My pleasure. You guys are amazing, and I can't wait to see you guys in 2 weeks.
Yep. Well, with that said, guys, that's a wrap on another episode of the Liquid Lunch Project.
Thank you for listening to the show. And make sure you subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend. We'll see you on the next episode of the Liquid Lunch Project.